Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Meseches ARACHIN Daf Ches. We begin right in the middle of the Amid at the Mishnah. Ein Pesach betoya. So this strings up with the previous Mishnah where we had a minimum and maximum in terms of numbers. So the minimum rate of payment for an erech is a sela, the maximum being 50. Okay, so on account of that Mishnah, which gave us a minimum and maximum rate system, we're going to have a whole long list of similar phenomena where we have numbers with a minimum and a maximum cap, unrelated to erechin. The only thing they have in common is they all have a minimum and a maximum. So the first example is the woman who's not sure where she's holding in her cycle. Now, nowadays, we're machmer. Anytime Isha experiences any blood, she is given a very severe status as though she's a zava. You see, the halacha is like this. The system is based on 18-day cycles. So within the 18 days, we have two clusters of days. We have the Yimei Nida and Yimei Ziva. The first 7 days is considered Yimei Nida. So basically, an Isha sees blood. That triggers the Nida status, which applies for the next 7 days, whether or not she experiences more. Done. She's tummy for 7 days, after which she immerses and she's tar. Right? So technically, that's how it works. And after Yimei Nida, come 11 more days, which are called Yimei Ziva, during which, if she sees more dam, so it depends how severe. Just 1 day? Okay, so as long as the next day is clean, she can be toivel and be tar. She sees 2 days in a row. As long as the third day is clean, she's good. If she sees 3 days, she's now izova gedoyla, a more serious status of ziva, in which case she has to wait for 7 clean days, tefillah, a carbon, the whole process. Now, that gets us to 18 days. Right? The first 7 is Yimei Nida, and followed by 11 days called Yimei Ziva, during which she has potential to become a Zava. Now, let's say she's a Zava Gedola, 3 days in a row during the Yimei Ziva. Until she's out of that status, she cannot become a Nida again. That preempts any further Nida experience, because she's now labeled as a Zava, until she has 7 clean days, etc. Nowadays, we're very machmer, since we're not sure, people don't necessarily know exactly what to look for, what makes them. So, anytime an Isha experiences blood, she's considered like a Zava. Zava Gedola. She must await 7 clean days in order to be toivel to become tar. Now, in the time of the Chachamim, when they followed the standard system based on the 18-day cycle, first 7 days Yimei Nida, followed by 11 Yimei Ziva. So the women kept track, that precise awareness and knowledge of exactly where they're holding in this given cycle. If a woman is not sure, she's confused. She's called a toya. She got confused in her calculations. I'm not sure. Am I in Yimei Nida? Am I in Yimei Ziva? What happens if I see blood? Am I going to become a Nida, a Zava? All kinds of different ramifications. So we want to try to get her out of that situation. How do we extricate her out of this mess, so to speak? How many clean days does she have to experience to know that she's out of this confusion, and she certainly is now going to start over again? It's called Pesach, which is the beginning of the cycle. I'm ready to start all over again with clarity. In order to ensure that in fact she's holding at the onset, the beginning of the cycle, she has to have experienced many clean days to remove any chance, any possibility that she's still within the cycle somewhere, blundering away. So how many days is that? So once again, we have a minimum, and we have a cap, a maximum. Ein Pesach, you can't return back to the starting point of the cycle with certainty, b'toya, by a woman who's confused and lost her way. No less than 7. Pachas mishiva, less than 7 clean days. That's at a minimum, meaning in some cases, 7 is sufficient to get you back on track, but typically it's more than that. And the cap is 17. V'lo yasher, no more al shavasa than 17 days. Okay, the Bryce will explain for us case by case. Now, it's based on certain factors, most of which we have already referred to. And it's pretty much recurring. So you have to make your calculations as you go along. And you'll see how it all fits into place. Talmud Bavli explains the Bryce like this. What does the Mishnah mean? We can go anywhere from 7 to 17. So again, the point is that the cycle in totality is comprised of 18 days. Okay, so the first case is very simple. Talmud Bavli, Taya, this woman who's confused, Shamru says to us, I experienced dam for 1 day. So now let's take worst case scenario. It was the first day of the 18-day cycle. So now she has to wait another 17, right? 17 plus this is a total of 18, to know that she's back to the beginning of the cycle. In order to get back to the past at the beginning, she has to have 17 clean days. And Rashi explains because otherwise, you really don't know. I mean, we're assuming worst case scenario, she's holding at the beginning and she needs a full 17 more days to get back on. But maybe it's not so. Maybe she's somewhere in the middle. And if she sees dam, she could be in the Meziva, the Meinida. We don't know what's going on. So in order to ensure that she's out of there, in order to confirm that she's back at the beginning of a cycle, she has to have 17 clean days without any disturbances, without any confusing factors. So now we take the worst case. The worst possibility is that this day that she saw was really the first day. So we're taking it the furthest, the most farthest position from the upcoming new cycle would be 18 days before that, right? So we're assuming now it's day 1 of the new cycle. No, 17 gets you back onto the cycle. If you take a look at Taisus, he explains it concisely. So it's the middle Taisus. He says, Pischa Yud Zayin, why 17? Pirush, he says, look, Yud Zayin Tahir, 17 clean days. In which case, if she now will see Dam on day 18, she's already out of the cycle. It's the beginning of the new cycle. Aval, but let's say she doesn't wait a full 18 days. Rather, she saw Dam already on the 17th day of waiting. So it was today, and then 17 days later, maybe that was the last day of the cycle where she's a Zava, Shema Ria Zavahi. The B'yem Shirasa, he said, Chilas Nida. Maybe that experience is the experience of a Zava. Because the day that she saw now was really number 1 of 18, B'yem Yitzayin, and then she's counting 17 more days, plus this one is 18. And the last day she saw, she didn't wait for the next day, she saw on the last day, maybe that's Yom Achron Shield Alf Yom Shel Ziva, it's the last day of the 11th Yom Ziva. So we don't know what's going on. Unless, when she saw today, she waited 17 days without anything. So 1 plus 17 is 18, she's back to the beginning. The next day if she sees, we know for sure she's Anida. Okay, so we work with a worst case scenario proposition, which requires a full wait. 17 clean days, plus today, which is 18. That's a full cycle. Now, regardless of where you were holding, if you waited that long, then for sure, if you saw today, it's for sure the beginning of the Nida segment, and you follow the standard Nida process, followed by 17 days, you know you're on track. Likewise, Shnei Yamim Tamei Re'isi. The same exact formula would apply if she sees 2 days in a row. Pischa Shiva also. She has to wait 17 to ensure that she's back on track. And the reason for this is because, again, we take worst case scenario, which is that she saw 2 days today, right now. So day 1 was perhaps the last of the previous cycle. Day 2 was the first of the current cycle. So it's like the previous case. So now we need 17 more days, plus today, for a total of 18, to get you back to the beginning of the new cycle. Shloish Yom Tamarisi, likewise, if she saw 3 days in a row, day 1, day 1, day 2, and day 3. And we don't know which part of the month it occurred, we're not sure. Shloish Yom Tamarisi, exactly the same pattern. Exactly the same formula will apply. Why? Because again, we work with the worst case scenario. That out of the 3 days that she saw, first 2 belong to the previous cycle, last 2 days of the previous cycle, the last of the 3 days belong to the new cycle. So she saw, it says always, she saw the first day of this 18-day cycle. She's on 17 days to get back onto the beginning of the track. So that explains why Shloish Yom Tamarisi Pischa, her solution is 17 additional days, Shiva Asar. But now, here comes a new case. Arba Yomim Tamarisi. Suppose she had 4 riyos, 4 days. Now she gets a discount. She can save herself a day. Pischa Shisha Asar, she goes down to 16. The reason for this is like this, because, again, the worst case scenario, out of the 4 days, if 2 were the last 2 of the previous cycle, and the next 2 were the first days of the new cycle, so now she's already holding at the day 2 of the new cycle, plus 16 for the total 18 of the new cycle. That's worst case scenario. So she gets 1 day less. Now let's say, okay, so that's Pischa Shishas, Achamisha Yom Tamarisi, right? And go on, so on and so forth. Pretty much, repeating the same factors in different variations. Chamisha Yom Tamarisi, I saw 5 days in a row. Pischa Chamisha Asa. Now she must wait 15 days to get on track. Why? Because a worst case scenario, out of the 5, the first 2 belong to the last cycle, and the next 3 belong to the new cycle, first 3 days of Yimei Nida. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3 out of 18, plus 15, you're back on track. What about, so therefore, Pischa Chamishas, Shishi Yom Tamarisi, I saw 6 days in a row, we take down another day, Pischa Arba Asar, and so on and so forth. Shiva Yom Tamarisi, I saw 7 days, Pischa Shlosh Asar, 13 days to get back on track. Shemoina Yom Tamarisi, I saw 8 days in a row, Pischa Shneim Asar, 12 more days. Tish Yom Tamarisi, I saw 9 days, Pischa Achad Asar, we take down 1 more day, it's down to 11. Asara Yom Tamarisi, I saw 10 days in a row, Pischa Asara, it's 10 more days to get back on track. Achad Asar, if it's 11 days in a row, Pischa Tisha, now she needs 9 additional days to get her back to the starting point. Now, return to my base. Shneim Asar, she saw 12 days in a row, Pischa Shmoina, she gets back to her starting point if she waits another 8 days. Now, why is that? Because once again, 12 days you saw, okay, let's assume the first 2 days were the tail end of last cycle, and the next 10 days, the first 7 we may nida, the next 3 we may zava, and the may ziva, right, extend for 11 days as we said. So you need another 8 days to complete the cycle and start anew. And finally, Shloisha Asar, she saw 13 days in a row, Pischa Shiva. In this case, she needs 1 day less. Because again, let's assume the first 2 of the 13 belong to last cycle. The next 7 were Yimei Nida. The next 4 Yimei Zava. Yimei Ziva extend for 11 days. So 4 plus 7 is 11, so you're done. Now what's interesting is that in the last 2 examples, we know for certainty, we know for sure that she was a Zavak Daila, needs a carbon. That will come up in the Gemara soon. There's no other way to configure it. Her Dam experience certainly traversed the Yimei Zava in a very serious way. She certainly experienced at least 3 days of Yimei Ziva. In any way you slice it, whatever you slice it. There's just too many days to be limited to Yimei Nida. So in these 2 cases, she certainly a Zavak Dela needs a carbon. Now, you may be bothered by a kasha. Why are we always sort of blaming last cycle? 2 days belong to last cycle, and the rest. If you're going to pin last cycle, why don't you just say, well, maybe 3 days belong to last cycle? Why? And the answer is because we're looking for worst case scenario. Pinning 3 of the days on last cycle actually makes it better for her. Why? Because if an Isha had 3 days in a row during the Yemei Zava, so let's say, out of, let's go to the case of 10, right? So 10 days. If you're going to tell me the first 3 of the 10 days were the last 3 days of the previous cycle, which is Yemei Ziva, once she has 3 days of Yemei Ziva, she's labeled as a Zava Gedola, in which case she cannot become a Nida. As we said before, right? Once you're a Zava Gedola, that preempts any further Nida experience until she's added that status, and she has Shiva Nakim. So all she needs is Shiva Nakim. 7 days, she's out, and she starts again. So we're looking for worst case scenario. We don't want to give her that privilege of saying, well, attributing 3 days to last, so we only limit it to 2 days. We say, well, the first 2 days belong to last cycle, which doesn't make you a Zava Gedola, which still leaves room for becoming a Nida. And that's what we assume. We assume that's what happened. So only 2 belong to last cycle, the rest of the cycle, which triggers a whole Yemei Nida, Yemei Zava, and the whole confusion. Why do we need such a long wait? I mean, just like nowadays, Anisha sees Dam, Shiva Nakim, and she's out. Worst case scenario, worst possibility, she's a Zava Gedola. 7 Nakim is enough. Why wait 17 days, 16 days? Timni Shiva Tish, just count 7 days and you're out, and she's mutter. You're right. To change her status, to make her tahar, of course, that's enough. But we're looking to reset her calendar, and that you can only do once she traverses this whole long journey to ensure that at worst case scenario, she covered all the bases and she's back on track. We're trying to get her back onto the Pesach, onto the pattern of a proper nida kamrin. That's what we're talking about. All women who are confused on their calendar become zavos. Maybe it's carbon, have to bring a carbon nechal. You can't consume it, since it's not confirmed that she's a zava. She brings the bird, but you don't eat it. There's a special halacha that allows for it. Chutz and pischa shiva, pischa shmona, except for the last 2 cases that we discussed, who are confirmed to be zava gedola and need a carbon. Shavvi's carbon v'nechal, bring the carbon and it's consumed by kayanim. Now, what does the brayso mean? All women who are not sure are zavos? I mean, maybe she's a nida. How do you know? Atu kol atoyes zavos. Every woman who's not sure what she's holding is confirmed to be a zava. I mean, she doesn't know. V'su, furthermore, yom echad u'shnei yamim b'asisuy karboni. In the cases where she sees only 1 or 2 days in a row, how could you bring a carbon? Even if she was really holding at the point in the month where she's a Yemei Ziva, the carbon only happens if she has 3 days in a row. So many of these cases don't even have that. Ella, rather, brayso means like this. We'll modify the words. Ella kol zavos hatoyos. No, we're directing our words at those specific cases. Women who have a chance that they're in fact a zava gedola. Maybe it's carbon made in nechal. So she has to bring a carbon just in case, but you can't consume it. So in cases where she saw, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and there's a possibility that she's a zava, so you got to account for that. Maybe it's carbon made in nechal, except for the last 2 cases where she's a confirmed zava. Chus and pischa shiva, pischa shmona, except for the 2 examples, the last 2 cases, where for sure she's zava gedola. It couldn't have happened otherwise. Like we explained before, it's inevitable. In those 2 cases, she brings a carbon you consume like any other carbon of a zava. Okay, so conclusion, an Isha who's a taya has to experience clean days. How many? At a minimum 7, maximum 17, to ensure that she's back on track. Says the Mishnah, another example of a minimum and maximum. Ein ben hagoyim. In the various nega types, you have the personal nega, you have the garment nega, you have the nega on the home. What's the minimum length of a nega experience? Ein ben hagoyim pachas mishavua echad. At a minimum, the nega experience is extends for a week. That's when it's on the person. Find a nega, you have to wait, lock him up for a week, pending further examination. And then if it stays the same, then he's out. But it's a minimum of 7 days. Give him time to introspect and to tshuva, right? V'lo yasser, at a maximum, it's going to be 3 weeks. Al shleisha shavuos, which is the nega on the home. Pa'achais mishavua. So the minimum, right, the Mishnah which says that it's no less than a week, that's negi adam, personal nega. V'lo yasser shleisha shavuos, the one that goes no longer than 3, meaning which one extends for 3? That's negi batam, amra papa. Pasuk in Tehillim says, "Tzidkascha k'arekel." We turn to Hashem. Hashem, your righteousness is as mighty, as tall as the mountains. So basically, it's a punishment with compassion, with tzedakah, with rachmanis. What does that represent? Elu negi adam. That's the personal nega, which is severe but a short experience. On the other hand, you have mishpatecha ta'im rabba, Hashem, your judgments are as deep as the depths of the earth. A longer, more severe experience, elu negi batim, that's the one on the home, which takes very long to solve. Pashte d'krova ma'ksiv. What is the simple, basic meaning of the pasuk? Amar Yehuda. So the drashas on the Megaim. What is the pasuk's basic message? Amar Yehuda. Ilmalei tzidkasa karekel. If not Hashem, that your tzedakah, that your righteousness and your kindness is as high as the mountains, as great as the harim, who would be able to withstand your judgments, which are as deep as the Tahim? So your tzedakah, your rachmim, your chesed tempers the judgment to allow us to succeed. That is Rabbi Yehuda's approach. Rabbi had a slightly different interpretation. Rabbi Amar tzidkascha karekel. Why do we say your tzedakah are as tall as the mountains? Because your mishpatim, your judgments at Tahim Rabbah are very deep. Now, what's the message? What's the point of discussion here? What's the machlekes? Says the Gemara, the machlekes is linked to a different discussion. Rabbi Eliezer, it's based on Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chanina. The Itmar as we learned. Rabbi Lazar Amar kovesh. When Hashem sees that, unfortunately, the scale upstairs is weighing down on the negative side, on the left side. What does Hashem do to counter it? Kovesh, he hides, he whisks away the averis, and he hides it beneath the kisei hakavod, Rashi says, in a tunnel, so that the right side, the good deeds, weigh down. That's one approach, and that corresponds to Rabba's interpretation of the pasuk. Why do we see the righteousness? Why are the schusim prevailing? Because the mishpatim, the negative deeds, are put away. Tahim Rabbah, in the depth, they're hidden away, which allows the good deeds to weigh down. Rabbi Yosef Chanina Amar Noisei. He says he does it differently. Kaviyach Hashem lightens the load of the averis. He sort of mitigates the effect, lightens it, lifts up that left side, which enables the right side with the mitzvahs to weigh down, which corresponds with Rabbi Yehuda's pshat. That's tzidkascha karekel, because Hashem makes it as high as the mountain. Tzedakah is to lighten, to lift up the averis. No, you say a different method of expressing compassion and ensuring our success. So, in fact, this machlekes corresponds to the previous one. Rabbi holds Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Yehuda is in line with Rabbi Chanina, as we explained. Okay, so we had two Mishnahs discussing minimums and maximums. We have the Pesach B'Toya, 7 clean or 17, depending on how long the experience was, and that will guaranteed get her back on track. In the last two, we are sure that she's a Zavak Gdola, needs a carbon, which is going to be Nechal, as opposed to some previous cases where she might have to bring a carbon, but it's going to be treated differently. It's not going to be Nechal. And we have the Negoim, which in essence is a prompting for tshuva, for all kinds of spiritual deviations, Tzaras Ayin, Lashon Hara, etc., as the Gemara explains elsewhere. So the shortest is 7, the maximum is 3 weeks. Ultimately, Hashem is rooting for us to ensure our success. Amen v'amen. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.